Kung Fu Panda 4. This one kind of snuck up on us. I mean, I vaguely remember seeing the trailer a few months ago and then completely forgot about it. I had no anticipation for this thing at all, which is weird because this franchise has been pretty consistently good for 3 movies in a row. I've enjoyed all of them, so you'd think I'd have more excitement for this. But for some reason, I just wasn't feeling it this time. I don't know if I've just been conditioned to expect the worst, or if, like the Dragon Warrior himself, I had a vision of what was to come and tempered my expectations accordingly. But either way, I think not getting too hyped up for this film was the right call. This is the weakest of the Kung Fu Panda films in my opinion. It's not a disaster, it's not Madame Web, it's not the Marvels, but if it's any indication of the direction this series will be going in the future, then my interest in Kung Fu Panda ends here. I think we're officially past the high point now. The movie still looks beautiful, I love the aesthetic, I love the colors, the action scenes are still very good, though I think they were better and had more imagination in the previous films. The jokes are starting to wear a little bit thin, and the writers don't seem to have any new ones up their sleeve, so it's just the same type of gags they've been doing for 3 movies now, but there's no groaners in there at least, and Jack Black can do no wrong as a voice actor as far as I'm concerned. He's as entertaining as he's always been as this character. The writing for him just doesn't feel as fresh anymore. But I'll get to that in a minute. First, I want to point out something I appreciated about this. With a lot of film series, when they start getting long in the tooth, they reach a point where it doesn't seem like there's much left to do creatively, and they're just continuing to drag things out for the sake of making more sequels so the studio can keep making money. Fast and Furious, for example. That's a franchise that really should have ended several movies ago. But Kung Fu Panda's never had that problem, at least not until now. Something they've always been really good about is finding new ways to advance Po's story and his character with each new movie that feels organic. It's never come off like they were struggling to think of something new to hit him with. They're always revealing new stuff about his past or furthering his journey as the Dragon Warrior in new ways, and that's been well done. So they definitely had a plan for where they wanted to go, and they do the same thing with this film, but this was the first time where it felt like they were starting to grasp at straws a little bit. The story on paper is pretty good. Po has been a warrior for a while, and now he has to transition into being a spiritual leader, but all he wants to be is a warrior. And that applies to more than just him, because there's a big through line in the film about change. Characters being afraid of change, afraid to move on to the next chapter in life or whatever, and learning to embrace it because change can be scary, but it can also be a good thing. And I thought this was handled quite well. That's a good setup for a movie. The problem is, I don't know why it's happening. The plot is about Po having to choose the next Dragon Warrior so he can take on a higher purpose and become, I guess, the new Master Oogway? But why does he need a successor now? Po is still a young dude. He's still in his prime. If he's gonna pick a successor, shouldn't that be happening like 20, 30 years in the future once Po is all warriored out? Because Oogway chose the new Dragon Warrior in the first movie, but Oogway was old at that point. His fighting days were over. Po loves fighting. He loves being the badass kung fu action guy, so why they're doing this with him now when he's still ready, willing, and able to do the job of the Dragon Warrior doesn't make any sense. And that, coupled with who Po's potential replacement is, really felt like the writers had the activist weirdos screaming in their ear and got it in their heads that they had to begin phasing out the Kung Fu Panda in Kung Fu Panda, because apparently we can't have male heroes anymore. All of them gots to go so much less interesting female characters can take their place. Why would you do that when Jack Black is this franchise? Nobody you replace him with, male or female, is gonna have the same charm as Po, especially not this replacement. Speaking of, can someone please explain to me why Hollywood keeps trying to make voice actor Awkwafina happen? Look, I don't hate Awkwafina, okay? I've enjoyed her in some things, Shang-Chi, Jumanji, but after The Little Mermaid, why does anybody still think this is going to catch on? Even a fucking deaf person would be skeptical after that. But hey, at least they didn't ever sing this time.
Remember my song in the swamp when I was like, whap, chicka, whap, whap, chicka, whap.
I don't want to.
Yeah, if the producers think Awkwafina is ever going to replace Jack Black, no. On general principles, no. Listen to that song, and then listen to Tenacious D belt out Hit Me Baby One More Time on the OST for this movie, and you'll understand why that just doesn't work. And no amount of ticking boxes on the diversity and feminism checklist is ever going to change that.
Any diverse woman in it, make it 10.
Dudes, it's not going to happen. They tried to give her some of the same shtick as Poe toward the end of the film. She gets her own version of skadoosh. It comes off so cringy and obnoxious, like they were trying way too fucking hard. And also, it doesn't help that the writing for her character isn't all that great to begin with. The big twist with her really needs to be said with air quotes. You'll see that shit coming from very far away. I called it 20 minutes before it happened. And it's not just her. The writing for the villain is even worse. The chameleon, really? You couldn't come up with a better name than that? Is pretty weak sauce. She's not scary at all. We're very far removed from Tai Lung at this point, and they try to make her more of a crafty manipulator type, but her big mic drop moment is the most predictable thing in the movie, so that doesn't really work. And then, after building her up as this huge, massive threat supposedly, they just turn around and have her enable the good guys to win in the end by acting like a total idiot when she's supposed to be really smart. I wanted to smack her at one point. Like, why are you saying the quiet part out loud, you fucking dumbass? How do you not know what's gonna happen when you do that? And what's more, her whole motivation is really stupid. She became embittered and turned to sorcery because her dream was to learn kung fu, but she wasn't allowed because she was too small. And that doesn't make sense because there's a kung fu master in the Furious 5 who's even smaller than she is. Why is the chameleon too small for kung fu, but Master Mantis isn't? Did the writers even think about this at all? On top of that, there's also this subplot with a lot of screen time about Poe's two dads that felt weirdly forced and unnecessary. They think he can't possibly handle this new villain for some reason, even though he's handled all the other ones, so they have to go and help him. Why? It's so dumb. And I'm sure it was only in there so the filmmakers could remind the Tumblr audience that Poe has two dads, and isn't that cool and progressive of us? Please come see our movie. Look, we're pandering directly to you. Though surprisingly, there was no subtext in there. Not that I noticed anyway. That's more restraint than Disney would have had, I guess. But overall, there's something very telling about Kung Fu Panda 4. When it's about Poe, it works. Because Poe is awesome and Jack Black is awesome, and even though his story in this one is flawed, it does have the most thought and care put into it compared to everything else. But when the movie is about Awkwafina's character, or the two dads, or even the villain, something just feels off. It gets awkward, it seems like we didn't really need this, the writing isn't as good, the new characters aren't as fun as the old ones, I was missing the Furious 5 a lot. It just wasn't what I hoped it would be. Even though I didn't hate this movie, it does seem like modern day Hollywood has sunk its claws into Kung Fu Panda, and it's probably all downhill from here for this franchise. A lot of the ideas in the film aren't necessarily bad, though some of them are, they're just not executed in the best way and feel like they're being done at the wrong time for the wrong reasons. And given the awkward way they try to replace Poe as the Dragon Warrior and who they want to replace him with, it seems like these creative choices are being dictated by politics now, and well, we've all seen the results when other movies have tried that. It's a damn shame, because I like the first three movies a lot. But even though there are some good elements to this, the writing wasn't really up to par this time, and if this is the path they want to take now, then I doubt it's gonna get any better in the future. I hate to say it, but it might have been for the best if Kung Fu Panda had ended as a trilogy. Part 3 would have been a great place to end it before the quality started to dip. It felt like everything had been wrapped up in that one, but they wanted to keep going, and while I don't think it's gonna get as bad as Fast and Furious did, I do think the best days of this franchise are behind it now. Thanks so much for watching. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there. And most importantly, don't forget to do all the other YouTube things by hitting that thumbs up, sharing the video, subscribing if you haven't already, and making sure you're still subscribed, because what really deserves to be replaced by a new, lame, diverse, much less charming female version is the YouTube algorithm. That's all for now. I'll be back with more soon. Take care, stay tuned. I'll see you next time.